I think the country is doing poorly. We've lost the things that used to ground us. Faith, patriotism, hard work, family.
This isn't a political channel. This isn't a political channel. This isn't a political video. This isn't me telling you who to vote for, but it is a call to action for Christians to do some of your research before you vote in 2024. This is a call to action to say what candidates share my values, share the biblical values, share things that we need to see happen again in America, and not just vote for whoever's popular or vote for whoever our boss says or vote for whoever we like and not the other guy because we don't like him, whatever that might be. So I heard this interview between Tucker Carlson and Vivek Ramaswamy, and I heard a lot of biblical values shared by this gentleman. I don't know a lot about him. I think he's Hindu. I'm not sure, but I want you to listen to this, and I want you to see what you may or may not agree with from a biblical perspective. I'll comment on it as we go.
You've been traveling around the country for the past, 3 months, 4 months?
Yeah, 4 months.
How do you think the country's doing?
I think the country is doing poorly, is the answer. I think that we have a void in our country. I'm the first millennial ever to run for U.S. president as a Republican.
That's a big deal, by the way, the first millennial to run as a Republican ever.
And I see people my age in particular across this country who are not doing well because we're starved for purpose and meaning. The people are looking to be part of something bigger than ourselves, and yet we've lost the things that used to ground us.
This is a big deal, what he's saying here.
Faith, patriotism, hard work, family. These things are gone, and so we're lost in the wilderness, and then we latch on to whatever the other side serves up for us. You know, we could wokeism, transgenderism, climatism, whatever it is. These are symptoms, drug addiction, depression, suicide, you name it. These are symptoms of a deeper void of purpose and meaning in our country.
That's wow. When we leave biblical values, when we leave traditional values of family, of faith, of God, of morals, right? The symptoms reveal themselves. And if we leave these values, we start to try to figure out what they should be. People start to try to figure out, well, if this isn't a thing anymore, what is? Who am I? How do I feel? How do I identify? All of these things are really happening. Let's keep listening.
But Tucker, I think the good news in that is I think our country's not doing well, but I think that this is also our opportunity.
Yes.
As a movement to level up and fill that void, that vacuum, with our own vision. Individual, family, nation, God. When I talk to young people about this, they're more interested in that than they are in race, gender, sexuality, and climate. And so now we got to start running to something as Americans, and if we do, I'm confident that our country will be doing well again.
So he's talking to young people across America. This is where his target is. We're going to find out more about that. And when it comes to family, when it comes to God, they're more interested in figuring out who God is, why family matters, than they are the new woke agenda, right? And this is a guy who's talking to these people in colleges. Like this is a good thing.
That's where I'm at.
Is it my imagination, or are people who weren't raised in traditional religious households, who haven't spent a lot of time thinking about theology, all of a sudden talking about God a lot? Do you notice that?
I do notice that, actually. And I think this is
it
a good sign because there's an old expression, right? If there's a hole the size of God in your heart and God does not fill it, something else will instead.
Can I just stop? I'm sorry to keep pausing this, but not only is this being talked about a lot through this age group, but you have people like Andrew Schultz and Joe Rogan and Andrew Tate. They're all mentioning God at some level or having an interview with somebody who believes in God. Even Patrick Bet-David being a proclaimed Christian and how popular his podcast is. They're all talking about God. Now, we don't agree with all their perspectives, and I can't endorse any of their perspectives, but they do bring up God. They do mention him more than ever. God is being talked about right now because God is being sought, because people are realizing that what's happening in the world isn't working.
That's what's happened in the last decade in our country. Something else, some secular religion has filled that void. But it hasn't really satisfied our moral hunger, right? And so that's kind of, that effect is fading, and I think people are hungry to turn back to the real thing. The conversation's coming up, but they say it with a kind of prudishness.
Yes.
Right? God is a four-letter word. It's sort of a thing you have to tiptoe around. And I think that right now, family's the same way. The nuclear family makes some people uncomfortable when I say it, but actually this is the best known form of governance to mankind. And so if we start talking more about, hey, that's what we're running to. That's actually what we stand for. Yes, we are one nation. I'm a citizen of this nation, not some nebulous global citizen somewhere else. That it is one nation under God. Yes, it is a nation that is stronger when we ground ourselves in the unit of the family. Then I notice something happens, especially for younger people.
Now, there is a little bit more left, just a few more seconds of this segment that I want to show you, but I can't help but comment on the idea that people are hungry for God, whether they realize it or not. And when you talk to somebody about God, they do tiptoe around it. They might say the universe, which is not God, right? They might say the big guy upstairs, which is really somebody who probably doesn't know God if they call God the big guy upstairs. They tiptoe around it, that God. But I've even noticed in my own life that people are more open to just saying, hey, God is the answer, or family is the answer, or there has to be a moral structure. People are open to this. It's coming around because they've seen the destruction, the moral failure, the way that the world is going is not good. And this is something that we have to keep in mind when we think about who we vote for in the next presidential election, because we know that the world is not in a good place right now. America is not in a good place right now.
Across the country, Tucker, they're more open to that message than they thought, but they need someone to serve it up to them. And I think I'm the first non-politician, but I'm also a younger person in this race. I don't have a ton of experience running governments before. But I think in reaching younger people, that's something I feel called to do in this race, and it's why we're traveling college campuses across this country. And I am optimistic about what I see.
Wow, that's powerful. Again, this isn't a political channel. This isn't me saying vote for Vivek. This isn't me telling you what to do. This is me saying, Christians, you need to wake up. This is me saying, Christians, use your brain when you vote. Don't just vote because you last minute and you didn't really look, or you heard some commercial that made the other guy look bad because all they do is talk stuff about each other. No, vote with these types of things. Do your research. America is failing, right? And we need to make God's name great again. We need to bring glory to his name. And we need to do our research and see what type of candidates, such as Vivek. Again, I'm not saying he's the guy, or I'm not even saying that's who I'm voting for. I'm just saying that with what he's saying there, those are Christian values. Okay, listen, those are Christian values. Family, Christian values, the family unit. God created the family unit. Morals. God created a moral standard since the very beginning. God gave us all purpose. And if you look at what he's saying, that ever since we left faith, ever since we left believing in God, ever since we left morals, people are left to decide what all of those things are for themselves. And then they get confused. And then they feel like they're somebody else. They identify with somebody else. They identify with somebody who they weren't even born to be. And then we have a mess. And all of these expressions, you see different relationships, maybe a homosexual relationship. There's still kind of a male and a female figure in each one of these, because they're trying to force what was supposed to be from the beginning, male and female, right? And all these things, again, all I'm saying is this isn't about that. This is about you. If you're a Christian, if you're listening to this, you need to do your homework. You need to do your homework. You need to figure out who closely relates to God's morals, right? What we believe in as Christians. And we need to go out and vote the right way. See you on the next one.